That is James Mennie. He is over at the Montreal Gazette. So, Jim, guess today we can begin with the ongoing saga that is the Gallant Commission. Today, Sonia LaBelle's turn to testify about what she knew about the mess. So what do we hear today?
Well, what we heard today is the confirmation of what I used to tell new hires over at the Montreal Gazette when I was the assignment editor back in the day, because I would tell them, because most of the people we got came from out of town, and I said, what you have to remember is Montreal is a big city, but at bottom it's a small town, which meant that everybody in a position of authority, whether it was politics or media or public security, tended to know each other or worked with each other or had some association over and above, say, emailing each other's office. And we had this perfectly messy situation where Montreal Municipal Court Justice, Denis Gallant, who's heading this inquiry, is in fact questioning Quebec Treasury Board President Sonia LaBelle as a witness. The thing is, both of them are very familiar with public inquiries because they worked together on the now, famous Charbonneau inquiry. So this is the real kind of weird thing where everything sort of comes to a head. And indeed, the nomination of Judge Gallant was in fact questioned by the opposition, specifically because they knew Ms. LaBelle would be called to testify, and these guys know each other. And he indeed, I believe, repeated today that it would appear that there's a conflict of interest, but there isn't. And, I'm fully aware of that perception. All of that said, Aaron, if we keep with that theme, if we echo off of that idea that either directly, it's like 4 or 5 degrees of separation between people in government. Madame LaBelle basically says, I saw that the SAAQ was going over on its personnel budget. I could order them to do a hiring freeze, but I couldn't tell them to fire people. In fact, my powers on what was going on at the SAAQ were in fact quite limited, and I wasn't passive. But even her saying that, when we consider all the other testimony we've heard thus far, it's like everybody kind of knew something was going on. They maybe heard it or they had a feeling about it, or maybe one of their chiefs of staff said, listen, this is really weird. But none of it ever seems to have gone anywhere, Aaron. None of it seems to have provoked any further questions on the part of anybody. Chief of staff, cabinet minister, head bureaucrat, anybody. Nobody was asking any questions, which quite frankly, I find incredible, because how could you be a part of that small group of people? And indeed, anyone who's covered government in this province knows that if Montreal is a small town, Quebec City is a village, Aaron. It's really, really tough not to know what in the hell is going on, or at least hear what people think is going on. So this situation didn't go on for weeks or months. It went on for years. And now all of a sudden, with the Auditor General's report, we're going, holy moly, $500 million over. How could this have happened? Well, apparently it happened one day at a time, one rumor at a time, one warning at a time. And the problem is, and you can't turn around and point the finger. It's just like nobody at any level of this entire system of government, this very, very multi-level system of bureaucracy we have in Quebec, noticed a damn thing.
Jim, as this goes on, as I hear you say this, I can't help but think to myself, are we going to find out at the end of all this that there is one person, just one, who had the ability to do something about it and chose not to? Well, I'm not sure you'll get there. I have a bad feeling. I don't want to get ahead of Judge Gallant, but you and I once talked about an inquiry that was held over an overpass in Laval that collapsed. Yeah. And that inquiry was headed by no less a personage than Pierre-Marc Johnson, a former premier of Quebec. And at the end, and I remember even when you saw the conclusions, it was basically everybody was to blame, which of course means nobody was to blame, right. Which basically means, sorry, Quebec taxpayer, you have to eat another $500 million. These things happen. But the problem that really sticks in my craw, Aaron, isn't that, these things happen. It's the inevitable unspoken conclusions that, guess what? It's going to happen again. I was just going to say that, yeah. If it happened once, it will continue to happen again.
It's been happening. Yeah. Listen, buddy, this is what we hear about. the AG just happened to get these sonar pings off of this situation, dug a little deeper and went, holy moly. And everybody's slapping their forehead. Do you not think that even as we speak, there are other projects going on that perhaps, and I'll be careful and kind here and say that perhaps are not enjoying the level of oversight that they should receive? I think it's entirely possible.
Yeah, it's hard to think otherwise. You're right. Let me bring up something municipally here. You write that if what we're seeing right now, the biggest beef in the Montreal election is one side stealing the other side's homework, as you put it, we're all in deep trouble. I kind of get the same impression, Jim, right? There is nothing out there that really separates, so far from what I've seen or heard, one of the parties running from the other.
Aaron, I'm no longer a Montreal taxpayer. I no longer have any skin in the game. I no longer have any interest in who becomes mayor of Montreal. But by God, I know that the city is beset with lots of problems. And at this point, come Monday, we'll be exactly, 2 months away from, a little over 2 months away from the municipal election. And we know there are issues. And the issues that we're seeing right now, we are seeing the incumbent party, Projet Montréal, basically backing off on a lot of its major projects simply because they have discovered, and I'm sure through polling, that that's going to cost them the election. That a growing number of Montrealers have got zero use for Projet Montréal. Oh, they have a very great core following, which they've been very loyal to in terms of bicycle development, in terms of bicycle paths, and so on. But for Ensemble Montréal, which, has a brand new leader, but we're not really sure if it's that, whether the party has been that renewed. But for Ensemble Montréal, right now, their big thing is, look, they're stealing all our ideas. They're stealing the whole thing about garbage collection in Hochelaga. They're stealing the idea of putting the Camélia Hood shutdown of automobile traffic on hold. Honest to God, though, Aaron, and like I say, it's 2 months, and maybe I'm wrong. Maybe they will amaze me, or another party will amaze me. But right now, I'm not hearing anybody turn around and say, listen, we're in deep trouble, and this is how we're going to get out of it. I'm getting the impression that in 3 months' time, Aaron, 4 months' time, we'll be hearing how, yes, we'd like to solve this problem, but we need more funding from the provincial government. Or we'd like to solve this problem, but we can't find any social acceptability. There was always, in Montreal, it doesn't matter who's in charge, and this is not just with Projet Montréal, Aaron. This has been going on for decades. I think a lot of our listeners already know this. If you ever need an excuse for not getting anything done, just ask the city of Montreal. They got a zillion of them.
Can I just ask you, with respect to the parties, and I think this has been pointed out as well, right? We have not heard anything that will make someone sit back and go, wow, I like that idea. That's, so different from what we've had now. So, but maybe because we're still in, kind of summer doldrums, maybe this changes in another week or so. Ensemble Montréal made a big deal about the fact that they managed to get Claude Pinard, considered, a valuable get, former head of Centrade. Do you think this registers with people?
No. I respect, and with all due respect to Mr. Pinard, I suspect that 98% of the people who saw that went, "Who's Claude Pinard?"
Right.
Oh, he's the head. He's the head. He was a former head of Centrade. Oh, really? That Centrade had a head?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's like, and once again, it goes back to what I was saying on our previous topic. It's like everyone knows everyone else, except once you're outside that bubble, a lot of people don't. And I think, for all I know, Mr. Pinard is going to bring a great deal of experience and expertise to the campaign, and if he gets elected, to City Hall. But overall, Aaron, I'm not getting, and like you say, it's that sit up and take notice, or that feeling, and I know it sounds very, very naive to say, but that feeling that, if you can't give anything else tangible, at least give people hope. I'm seeing the same cliches. We will have a cohesive plan, to control traffic and to coordinate construction sites. Man, I've been hearing that for 20 years, and it still doesn't work, So I think it's, what the real mystery is going to be on Election Day in Montreal is going to be the turnout.
Yeah, are we upset enough that actually people will turn out?
I wonder how many people are just going to go what the hell with this? I got better things to do with my time.
All right, listen, I'm going to let you go, but I started off by asking the question, which I will do when we come back, when we get done here, about what we talked about the other day. You said you believed it was time for François Legault to go. So I want people to hear that. Tell them why and what you think is going to happen or what should happen.
what he should do is as I said, he should do the right thing and call an election, because there's no way they can recover from this. I'm very, very sorry. You can look at all the scenarios that you want. There's going to be no magic kind of wand that they can wave to change their situation. In the meanwhile, we're stuck with a lame duck government for 13 months, which, as you just mentioned earlier in the show, and as you and I discussed yesterday, is coming up with these ridiculous, typical CAC. You should be scared of this. Let's ban prayer on the streets. These ridiculous legislative attempts to try and turn around and say, oh, no, you're under siege. Only we can protect you. Everyone sees through it. Everyone knows it's garbage. But we are in very, very difficult straits right now. We're on the cusp, some people say right in a recession. And we have got a government right now, when it's not being distracted or being grilled over a $500 million cost overrun, is turning around saying, we're going to ban prayer on the streets. It's time for someone new. It's time for a new government before people become absolutely jaded and once again just turn themselves off from that, as much as I think they will from municipal politics.
We leave it at that. Jim, you have a great long weekend. We'll talk to you again next week.
Toodaloo.